Hello and welcome to this video on the history of the microchip. In this video, we'll take a look at the evolution of the microchip from the early days of computing to the present day.
In the early 20th century, computers used vacuum tubes to process and store information. Vacuum tubes were large, power-hungry, and prone to failure, but they were the best technology available at the time. In the 1950s, the transistor was invented, and it revolutionized the field of computing. Transistors are tiny electronic switches that can be used to amplify or switch electronic signals. They are much smaller, faster, and more reliable than vacuum tubes, and they paved the way for the development of the microchip. In the 1960s, the first integrated circuits, or microchips, were developed. A microchip is a small piece of silicon that contains thousands or millions of transistors and other components, such as resistors and capacitors, that are used to process and store information. The invention of the microchip made it possible to build smaller, more powerful computers that consumed less power and were more reliable than their vacuum tube counterparts. In the 1970s, the microprocessor was invented. A microprocessor is a central processing unit, CPU, that is built onto a microchip. It's the brain of the computer, and it's responsible for executing instructions and performing calculations. The microprocessor made it possible to build computers that were even smaller and more powerful than before, and it paved the way for the development of personal computers, smartphones, and other modern computing devices. Microchips are made using a process called photolithography. Photolithography involves using light and chemicals to etch patterns onto a silicon wafer. The patterns on the wafer are used to create the transistors and other components that make up the microchip. The photolithography process is highly precise and requires specialized equipment and trained personnel to perform. It's also a key factor in the miniaturization of microchips, as it allows for the creation of smaller and more densely packed components. The development of photolithography and the microchip has had a profound impact on the field of computing and has paved the way for many of the technologies we take for granted today, such as smartphones, laptops, and servers. The microprocessor made it possible to build computers that were even smaller and more powerful than before, and it paved the way for the development of personal computers, smartphones, and other modern computing devices.
So that's a brief history of the microchip. From vacuum tubes to microprocessors, the technology has come a long way in a short time. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more tech-related content. Thanks for watching. I hope this helps. Let me know if you have any questions or need further clarification on any of the concepts.